So you told me that you're America first,
Yes.
at the same time you're pro-Israel.
Yes.
How is it possible?
Well, I think it's very possible. So, we do have, Israel, number one, you can criticize Israel, and we should.
And you're not anti-Semite.
Oh, of course not. I mean, I have great I have great Jewish credentials. I was on the Republican leadership team for the Republican Jewish Coalition back in the day, even though I'm not Jewish. I actually have a traced back, and I just found this, and people will get a kick out of this, and I'll get accused of being a Jew now. But I have a grandmother that served in the intelligence services in the World War II. That was Jewish, but kept it a secret for a very long time. So we did not know. So I do have a Jewish ancestor.
So basically, you're a Jewish plant.
Yeah, so so Hitler would still be mad at me. But anyway, I have maintained great friendships with the Jewish community. Rabbi Barkley, who got into all kinds of controversy with Candace Owens because he called her an anti-Semite, and then he went on to her show, and I love him to death. I think he lost his cool with her and didn't present as well as he could have. I saw him yesterday. He's a wonderful guy, good friend. And I think he wasn't as clear with the meaning of anti-Semitism as he should have been when confronting her on it.
But when Jew says you're an anti-Semite, it's almost the same thing that when black African Americans say you're a racist, right?
Yeah. So and it can be, and that's where it needs to be very, very carefully dealt out. Like we need to reserve calling people who are actual racists. We need to call the people who are actual anti-Semitics or anti-Semites anti-Semites. We have to be very, very careful about that. At the same time, you have to be allowed to criticize Israel. They're a secular government that has done some great evil, and I've called it out on my show. You look at Epstein. The Mossad, very credible evidence that they were part of that operation. There's other things that they have done throughout history that has not been good for us, that has not been moral or correct or in the service of what they should be doing, right? So you can say that the Israeli government allows all kinds of things that are despicable in Israel. They are not perfect by any stretch, and they are worthy of criticism. And you also need to hold them accountable for their performance and their behavior during war, right?
Let's stop for a second right here. So let's remember 1972 Munich Olympic Games, right?
Right.
Terrible act was submitted.
Yeah.
What did Mossad do in the? They went to all those countries and did terror acts, killing those terrorists.
Yeah. Well,
they didn't act in Israel. They found in all other foreign countries.
Yeah.
How are they allowed to do that?
Well, okay, so now we're getting into some war theory stuff. Do I think that let's take Israel out of this. Let's say us. Okay, we have terrorists that go and do something wicked. Let's say we have something evil happen here on our soil, like 9/11 or whatever. For us to go into Pakistan, find Osama bin Laden and execute him.
That's horrible.
No, I think
because of the casualties.
Well, when we killed Osama bin Laden, there were very few casualties that were a result of that operation.
Oh, you mean only Pakistan?
Yeah, I mean so now I was not a fan of the Iraq War, more so back in my youth because, hey, I'm a patriot, American, something did wrong, I'm believing the narrative of the government. I think a lot of us did at the time. And then you start to grow up and you start to realize how much of that stuff was manufactured and how much of that stuff was everything in support of the military war industrial complex and all of the corrupted, things that were happening around our world. So that I despise. And I think we've done way too much of that. And that's why I've said I'm a, America first anti-interventionist wherever possible. However, targeted assassinations, and our country is not supposed to be doing that, right? But I think we should. targeted assassinations, targeted elimination of our evil enemies. I think that we should wield a sword and use it effectively. I'm down with that. I think Israel can, as a sovereign nation, do the same thing. I think that's why you build up a strong military so that you can go in and exact some justice on a worldwide scale when you need to, but make it targeted. And I'm down with that. I do not think that there's anything wrong with that. I do not think that there's anything unbiblical about it as well.
But what about the casualties?
Okay, casualties are...
You blow up a car with a terrorist in
Yeah.
a foreign country.
Yeah.
Just to see that as a citizen of that country,
Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I think that is the reality of war. That's the reality of conflict. That's the reality of anything like what we're talking about is very messy. I think you need to do it as precisely as possible. Okay. Now, and we have, by the way, I mean, we have the ability. We talked about some of these drones. We have ability to, drop a bomb just on your forehead, right? We are getting so sophisticated that. Well, Obama blasted, wedding party instead. Obama did some things that he was not sanctioned to do. Some of it I actually don't. I don't get too excited about because I think that some of that stuff, can be necessary. Some of that stuff can be the realities of effectively meting out justice on a worldwide scale. Some of that can be also preventative action so that the next time, those terrorists aren't going to, go and do that and think that they can get away with things with impunity. But all of that stuff is it has to be done by a moral people, and it has to be done incredibly carefully. And it can't be done, just with, willy-nilly, carelessness.
You do it like Trump did with Soleimani.
Yeah.
And you laugh about
He's
it.
dead.
Like a dog.
Like a dog.
Abu.
Abu Soleimani is dead. I do not do a good Trump impression, but I love that. Like
He's
a
son
dog.
of a bitch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
like you were talking about.
Yeah, no, but I mean, look, you have to understand, in an imperfect world, war is going to exist, and there were times, I mean, in biblical times, God told his people to go and do very harsh things. I mean, one of my favorite stories is when they circumcised all the dudes, waited until the third day, and then killed them all. Had them voluntarily circumcised that were raping, their daughters, right? And they said, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll forgive you. Come in, get circumcised," and then they waited until the third day while they were still in pain, and then killed them. I am a justice guy, right? I believe in justice. I believe that also in street justice, because when, you get to a point where there is no justice, you are going to have people that go to other strong people and say, okay, my daughter was raped. Our government is not doing it. We need this to be handled. And, once you get to a breakdown level where, like right now, we're in anarcho-tyranny. We are in a time where actual criminals are not being prosecuted, but people who go and take care of business, like Daniel Perry on the subway, that guy died because of his physiology. He did not die because of that chokehold. I'm an expert in chokes. You can watch the whole thing. That was a choke restraint. It wasn't chokehold. He wasn't being cut off of air supply. It wasn't a carotid artery choke. It wasn't mashing into his esophagus. You saw that he was being held. And he died because of his physiology, compromised physiology of a crazy person. That Daniel Perry should be lauded as a hero for stepping in and intervening. Now nobody steps in and intervenes, and you watch the videos over and over again of people getting assaulted on subways. A woman being raped and fondled, and her hair being pulled on a subway, and everybody's hanging back because they're afraid to jump on that guy. Well, I tell you, if I'm on that subway, I will get arrested. I will get it taken care of, and my fate will be whatever it's going to be. But I can't not do that.
Yeah, that's when good people see bad stuff and they
Yeah.
do not act at all.
But going back to Israel,
Yes.
yeah. So going back to Israel, there is a great fiction, historical fiction, that has been perpetrated on people about Palestine. Okay, they are not the Philistines of old. They are not connected. They are Jordanians, Egyptians. They are a mishmash of different Arabs from that region that were settled there to antagonize Israel as a proxy for the Middle East. And there is no such thing as the
What time
Palestinian
frame?
people.
20th century already?
Well, I mean, we can trace back. That land has never not been occupied by Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, since forever. Okay, if you believe in the biblical narrative, that land and more of it than what they have now was given to Israel and the Jewish people as their homeland by God. Okay, if you believe in that narrative though, all because there's people that don't believe in God, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
other people say that Allah, their God, did the same thing for Palestinians.
Yeah, but
You can argue which God is true.
and then we have war.
Yes.
And then we see who wins, and Israel won. Israel won. Okay, many wars against them. They voluntarily gave territory back over and over again. They shrunk the territory that they directly controlled and could have continued to control. They gave it back. Every time peace was offered, I mean, you guys like Arafat and others were turned down multi-state solutions, right? Turned down all kinds of opportunities over and over again for what would have been some kind of agreed upon peace in the region over and over again, okay? Every time there's a ceasefire, they collect their resources back, they build back, and then they go back to bombing Israel, lobbing bombs. Their whole entire charter and intention there in that land is to wipe Israel off of the face of the earth. Okay, that's the entirety of the Middle East. That is their underlying premise, and it's because it comes from Islam. On Saturday kill the Jews, and on Sunday the Christians. I mean, we are at enmity with them. There is a conflict between Islam and Christianity and Judaism. It's not possible for them ultimately to live in peace with us. And again, I say this I have friends who are Muslim. I have friends who I care about, who I also have these discussions, and we've had these conversations with. When they are a minority in a land, they are peaceful. When they begin to be the majority, they begin to implement their rules, and they have three choices. Once they gain enough power, it is convert, pay up, or die.
And we see that in London, Berlin,
and that's it.
Paris.
And we are cruising to that conflict. It doesn't come from the Christians, and it doesn't come from the Jews, but it does come from Islam. That conflict is built in to their religious premise, and that's why these knucklehead kids at Columbia University, the brats of the wealthy, are screaming, from the river to the sea, Palestine would be free. They try to excuse that, like, oh no, they don't really mean wipe out the Jews, but that's what they mean. What river, what sea?
Yeah, but at the same time, I've seen multiple videos in Israel where Orthodox Jews spit on Christians.
Yeah, that's evil. That's wicked, and I would punch them in the face if I was.
So they fight as well.
Of course. We're talking about conflict is the nature of people. Conflict is the base expectation of humanity, and it's only and that's why we need Jesus, right? Because the only way you ultimately have peace. I mean, think about any other religion. Okay, any other religion on the planet, any other political philosophy, any ideology outside of Christianity, you don't have peace.
Yeah, but at the same time, Muslims are waiting for Jesus to come back as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, it's an upside down religious philosophy and ideology. It's a perversion. I mean, remember, they're the ones that are, what is it? Allah is our God and He has no son. I forget the exact. I'm getting the exact quote wrong, I think. But no, I mean that's their idea. That's a flying in the face. It's on the Temple Mount. That's what they are declaring and saying. They believe that Jesus was just a prophet, and they laud him as a prophet. So does Mormonism.
Yeah.
Jesus was a prophet, brother of Satan. He, all of that sort of stuff. Remember, if you're denying the deity and the lordship of Christ, it is not the same Christ.
Yeah, that's a different person.
Right.
I'm not defending Muslims, but they have their own understanding.
Yeah, no, and I know you and I are just discussing it.
But they're saying, if Christians say, if you deny the holiness of Jesus Christ, that He's the Son of God and the God Himself, the Muslims said, if you deny Prophet Muhammad, that he was the last prophet, you're against us.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but by the way, that's the master stroke of Satan, is to get you to be just off target, and think you're okay and think you're doing the right thing. I mean, why do you think there's so many religions that are just close? Why do you think there's so many cults that call themselves Christians? Mm-hmm. Well, we're Christians too. There's tons of that. That is genius. If you're the enemy of this world and you want to create those conditions and those tensions, boy, that's smart.
But at the same time, Jews do not recognize Jesus at all.
Right. Yeah. But see, they still have a special role in this whole story. So from a Christian's perspective, right, they are a mission field.
What do you mean?
A mission field being, people that we are to evangelize to and share the good news of Christ. I mean, I have Dennis Prager is a perfect example. You know how many Christians are praying for Dennis Prager to come to the faith? I had the pleasure of sponsoring a PragerU event where it was Eric Metaxas. You're reading his Bonhoeffer biography. Eric Metaxas and Dennis Prager discussing the Bible. I got to introduce the two of them, and I sponsored that portion of the event, and Eric and Dennis, kind of light debating back and forth, and it's just wonderful to witness. But guys like Dennis Prager and others who share the Jewish faith, because remember, there's a ton of Jews that have zero Jewish faith. They are only Jewish by ethnicity, and plenty of them are in the Israeli government, by the way. Plenty of them are in Hollywood doing great evil. Plenty of them are, perpetrating the, pedophile cabal around the world. Plenty of them are in complete, wickedness. Right. A
lot of them live in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is a very LGBTQ friendly city.
Yeah, very much so. Which makes the queers for Palestine thing bizarre, because they're going against their own interest. Because boy, the Hamas would throw them all off of buildings. Literally, that's one of their punishments.
Just like I sent you the video. Pro Hamas, pro Palestine. And it clashed with the LGBTQ Pride Month march.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre. It's bizarre, the world that we're in and the disconnect between these groups of people.